So welcome back, guys, and today I'm going to be talking about the up-and-coming fight between Anthony Joshua versus Dillian Whyte, which is scheduled for August the 12th at the O2 in London. Now, this is a fight which I am very excited by because, do you know what I mean? The first fight, you know what I mean, was exhilarating. It was brilliant. You know what I mean? It was entertaining. It was exciting. You was on your edge of your seat. You didn't kind of know what was going to happen. And both fighters, you know what I mean, in the first fight were fighting for something because both guys hadn't tasted defeat up until that point. Anthony Joshua was the you know what I mean, the next big thing, the up and coming star. Dillian Whyte was kind of like the guy in the background who had in his amateur beat Anthony Joshua, but was trying to pave his way into boxing himself by trying to climb himself up the rankings. And if I remember rightly, the first fight between both guys was for the British title as well. I'm quite sure that it was for the British title, but it was 8 years ago, you know what I mean? And again, a brilliant fight. And this is going to be the rematch, and this is going to be the fight which potentially will seal the deal between both guys because technically, you know what I mean, both fighters have got a win over each other. Dillian Whyte in the amateur, and obviously Anthony Joshua as a professional. Now, when you're looking at their records, both guys' records are currently similar at this stage in their career. Do you know what I mean? So there's not a lot which you could kind of separate between both guys because they're quite similar. You know what I mean? They're pretty much at that point now where, you know what I mean, this fight can make or break each guy. AJ, I think he's had 28 fights in total with 25 wins and 3 losses to his name. And off the top of my head, Dillian Whyte is at about 32, 33 fights. And he's got 3 losses to his name as well. But both guys have been in there with some good opposition along the way. In recent fights, you know what I mean, both guys have fought against the same opponent in Jermaine Franklin. Dillian Whyte who fought him first. It was a bit of a mixed performance from Dillian Whyte. Didn't really kind of look right. You know what I mean? Yes, he had changed trainers and he was going through new tactics, etc., etc. But to me, just didn't really seem like the old Dillian Whyte. And it was a bit of a sloppy performance. And Jermaine Franklin held his own and done very well against Dillian Whyte and was catching him with some good shots, some good combinations. He had fast hands. Whereas Dillian Whyte was kind of like in second gear, just going through the motions and you know what I mean? The fight was that close that I could have given it a draw, could have given it to Franklin. Do you know what I mean? But in the end, Dillian Whyte got the victory. He was pretty much promised the AJ fight straight away. That didn't happen. Obviously, AJ went into the ring and he fought against Franklin. Now, and against Franklin, for me, I'd probably say that AJ's performance against Franklin was a bit better. But at the same time, he never looked as if he was going to kind of get Franklin out there. Franklin was quite durable through the fight. But the difference between the AJ Franklin versus Dillian Franklin was that in the latter rounds, Franklin against AJ was kind of backing off because he didn't want to get knocked out. He just wanted to see it out to the end to kind of put that on his record, say, yes, I lasted with both guys, which he did. Whereas against Dillian Whyte, Franklin was putting, you know what I mean, he was pressuring Whyte and he felt as if he could have got Whyte out there. So 2 mixed performances from 2 British fighters against the same American opponent. But that's their last performance, do you know what I mean? And sometimes a fighter can only get up for a fight when he knows he's fighting against maybe a dangerous opponent or someone who's ranked as like one of the best in his division or the pound per pound, etc., etc. So you can't really take much about it. And with this fight between both guys, you know what I mean, they've been in there to share the ring with each other before. So for me, I feel as if it's going to be very exciting and entertaining from the get-go. I do feel both guys are going to get hurt in this fight. Do you know what I mean? And we might even see both guys go down against each other at some point. But one thing I feel, do you know what I mean? I just feel that AJ should have enough, just a bit more to kind of overcome and beat him in the end. I'm not saying that he's going to knock Dillian Whyte out like he did last time. This fight could go the distance. It could go the 12 rounds. But you know what I mean? I just feel as if it's going to be exciting because both guys are going to want to go in there against each other and put on a performance and kind of show that male testosterone dominance against each other. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be quite interesting. And as I said earlier, they both had interesting careers. AJ's obviously had 3 losses on his name to date. Do you know what I mean? His first loss was against Andy Ruiz, where for me, he was winning up until his technical knockout. Do you know what I mean? Where he lost. And then he fought Alexander Usyk twice within a space of a year, give or take. And he lost both fights on decisions, really. But in the first fight against Usyk, it wasn't a good performance. It was a weird Anthony Joshua performance. Whereas in the second fight, I felt it was a much better and much improved performance against Usyk, but just didn't quite do enough to kind of take the titles away from him. And coming to it as well, do you know what I mean? Between AJ and Dillian Whyte's first fight, do you know what I mean? Both, as I said earlier, both guys were undefeated, and you know what I mean. They had bags of confidence going into that fight. And if you think of it as well, AJ was on a high. He you know what I mean? His toughest fight after that was against Klitschko. And for me, I feel that Klitschko fight was the turning of Anthony Joshua. And this is the Anthony Joshua of why we're seeing him today. Because that Klitschko fight, for me, took it out of AJ. It asked him a lot of questions. You know what I mean? AJ was hurt in that fight. His stamina was tested. Do you know what I mean? And he actually realised that, you know what I mean, his power wasn't always going to be there against some of the better opposition within the heavyweight division. But anyway, getting back to it, do you know what I mean? Like, Dillian Whyte, he's got 3 losses on his record as well. His 3 losses, obviously, he's got Povetkin, which he lost to. The Povetkin fight was an interesting fight because when he fought Povetkin the first time, because he's fought him twice, he fought him the first time, he was winning that fight, which was quite weird because he was dominating him, and then from out of nowhere, bang, he just got caught with that uppercut and it was lights out. Do you know what I mean? And that uppercut has been his Achilles heel because AJ caught him with a crazy uppercut in their fight as well, which was his first loss. And then his second loss was against Povetkin, which that uppercut came out of nowhere. And then his third loss on his record came to Tyson Fury. And again, it was an uppercut which pretty much started it and ended it in a weird way. Do you know what I mean? So that uppercut is Dillian's Achilles heel. Whether or not we see AJ throw that shot in this fight quite often will be... I don't know. One thing I feel that AJ is going to try and do, I feel as if AJ is going to try and conserve a bit of energy and try and take Whyte into the latter rounds to try and fatigue him and try and catch him in the latter rounds. And he'll probably try and keep Whyte at bay if he can, keep him at the end of his jab, and catch him with a straight right every now and again. And if Whyte comes in quite sloppily, then he probably would throw the uppercut because he knows that that's probably his best weapon against Dillian Whyte. Whereas I feel with Dillian Whyte, on the other hand, I feel Dillian Whyte will pretty much lead the pace of the fight. You know what I mean? From round 1, I think he's gonna set a high pace for AJ. I think he's gonna pressure him really early. Try and make AJ feel uncomfortable, try and, you know what I mean, put him on the back foot, try and get in his face, try and catch him with some hooks to the body and to the head. I think he's going to try and make it quite ugly, do you know what I mean, and try and smother his space because he knows that he has to close that distance. But whether or not he could keep that going for the 12 rounds, we don't know. But one thing I could guarantee is that this is going to be a good fight to watch. I'm certainly going to pay for it on pay-per-view because all the tickets have been sold out now. But anyway, you guys can let me know about how you feel about this rematch. Would you have preferred AJ to go in there against someone else? Or you like me? Or are you kind of content with this fight? As always, guys, subscribe. Bless.